Hi and welcome to this week's video. In this video we make a little bit of progress, only a little bit. The anti-torsion ply plates are finished off, and that for the engine mounts, and start making a little bit of work on the for the instrument panel, a bit of prep work. So I've only really got a couple of days to do the work in this week because of work. So hey ho, we'll see how we get on. Okay, so I've made up these pieces here which just go where the lower bolts hold the forward plate on, like that. There we go. I've rounded the corners because it doesn't reduce the weight by much or the strength by much, but it does save an awful lot on ankles and things or bits and pieces, because it's right by where the rudder pedals are here, so I don't want sharp corners catching on things, as these will sort of fit there, glued onto the verticals and glued here onto the ply sides, and they're just there to try and take out the torsional twist of this upright section here by the engine mount. To tell you the honest truth, from the sort of calculations and where the bolts go through, I don't think that twisting force is particularly high, or much to be an issue about. But then the weight of these things is not that great. It's on the plan, so I might as well include them. It does make putting the bolts through, or putting the nuts on there, a little bit more awkward, but that's a small price to pay. I have access from the top through the tank bay area to get down there, and we do up the nuts and torque up the bolts. But yeah, so just thought that's one bit I've managed to do this week, apart from drilling the holes through on those. Alright, so this is the dashboard instrument panel as given to us by Fisher, and I'm doing a little bit of a change because of where I'm putting things in relation to my height in the aircraft. So one or two modifications, and to allow the top deck, the turtle deck section over the front, to have something to sit on, I'm wanting to have bows for it to sit on. So I've set these blocks up so I can do a double strip laminate, might even go triple strip on this one because it's holding the instrument panel, and then there'll be blocks strategically placed where screws are going to go to hold the instrument panel in place. But because I am as tall as I am, to give me a little bit of extra clearance for my knees going in underneath the instrument panel, I'm going to put a bow along the bottom which is going to have this sort of serpentine shape to support the bottom of this instrument panel so it's not flexing. And also the point here is where my fuel selector is going to be for the two wing tanks to feed into the front main tank. So it's going to have that little bow bit there. My knee can then, it's just getting in and out. I tried out getting in and out of the aircraft to see how my legs did around this area, or how my knees did around this area, and I found with me putting my feet so on the floorboard section about here, that as I clambered in and out of the cockpit area, my knee came up level with the top of the longeron here. With this serpentine bit, this is the height of the top of the longeron, so I'm going up about 3/4 of an inch just to give me that little bit of clearance, and then dropping it back down to the height which this would have originally been at. So there'll be just that little bit of a cutout there. I think it'll look relatively neat, won't look out of place, and it'll just give me that little extra bit of ease for getting in and out, especially if things aren't quite going to plan at the time. It's a little bit bodgy, but it does for working out how things are going to sort of fit. Here are the rear strut members where they go through. By having it cut away like this, I managed to work out how I'm going to cut the plywood, and gives me an idea that I can actually run a straight line down here near enough for the instrument panel itself to be able to be unscrewed separately, and leave sections in place over here on this side, and that to close off around the strut itself, which will be fitted to the aircraft permanently. And then with this cardboard section out and about, he says, with the cardboard out, I've been using it with sort of bits of card and things like that to work out how instruments can be dotted around and where various switches and things can be. So looking at it here, I've worked out roughly a line going straight down here for this main section to be able to be taken forward. As I said, this bit here would be permanently in the airframe, and a small section down here would be remaining stationary with the fuel cut off or changeover in position there, rather than having it in the overhead position as I originally planned. Up here as well, I was originally planning to have it, but the issue with that is if we have an accident or something, my head is going to be, I didn't want anything extra pokey around up there, and looking out, if you're going to have a leak from a fuel tap or something, I'd rather have it lower down than it dripping down into my face. So I can run fuel lines from the wing going forward down here, sight glasses to show whether it's got fuel flowing through it, down with the aluminium, I'm looking at aluminium tube going to the fuel selector here, which will then go into the fuel tank. I'll have to have a little play around to see whether that is how I go about it as a final, but that's a reasonable plan. And with the bows being made up for the bottom here and around the top, I've got a framework to start connecting panelling to the airframe to get things worked out. And I can have a panel section here that can be removed, changed if I want to change the layout, and just works out a little bit neater to my mind. In the instructions and plans, it has like a rectangular section here which is removable. It doesn't quite fit the instrument switch I've got. I'm using second-hand reconditioned instrumentations. As on, I'm just creating, in this case, a 3-layer laminate, and so I'm spreading it on 2 of the laminations, just on the one side. That's all you need to do, because you need to be able to get the air out from between the two. If you do it on both sides, because of the amount of area being covered, you tend to get air trapped in the lamination. So this is the best method. This is the method I was taught, so I'm hoping it's the best method. It's worked very well for me in the past on boats, aeroplanes, and some other wacky projects. So what I do is I just go along on all but one laminate, put them side by side, and put a coat on. Make sure there's sufficient resin there so that it can be squeezed out. I want to squeeze out. No dry areas at all. And then it's a case, just a case of lifting one on top of the other, then the last one on top like that, and then we can go to putting it into the form. So here's the form. I'm just going to flex this up, make sure everything is nice and level, and put in the first clamp. Make sure it's all nicely down, seated. That should produce a reasonable arc. There are the bows for the instrument panel, the lower one with the section for my knees, and the upper one which I've made wider than on the plan, just so we've actually got some space to put bolts or screws going through the top and enough meat to put the inserts in for that. If you're doing it on this sort of thickness of wood, not really much space for it. This lower one will have little blocks for the instrument panel screws to go into at the top, so they'll have little chunks for that. And this will also have blocks added where the screws need to go. But that's where we're at with the bows for there. Well, that's it for this week. Not much done, but a little bit of progress. At least we managed to do some progress. Mainly been planning bits and pieces out on cardboard, so not really much to show, but we're getting there slowly. Let's see what we manage to do next time. Bye now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.